It's time now for the award-winning #1 local talk show in Northeast Pennsylvania, The Sam Lesante Show. Now here's your host, Sam Lesante.
Well, folks, a lot of things happening in our Congress today. Whether they're good or bad, we don't know, but today we're going to get an update. As usual, Congressman Barletta is here from the 11th Congressional District to discuss some of the things that are happening. Welcome on the Sam Lesante Show.
Thanks,
again.
Sam. Good to be here.
No stranger to the show, and I got to tell you, Lou, I appreciate it very much that you keep us informed. Well, it's over with right now. I mean, we'll be playing the show, as you know, in different areas, but the Iran deal evidently went through, and you said, Barletta, to vote no on Iran nuclear deal, very bad, very poorly negotiated, and weakly drafted. Are you the only one that knows this?
No, apparently just not enough of us in Washington that knows it or is willing to take a stand to a bad deal. Those that support it said that it's the best deal we can get. That doesn't mean you take it. In your own private life, if it's not a good deal for you, you don't make a deal that's not a good deal for you. And I don't know how anyone could justify that this was a good deal. And really, who it's the worst deal for is our children and our grandchildren, the next generation and the generation after that, who will deal with Iran with a nuclear bomb and billions of dollars into their economy, where they become a powerful nation. And it's hard for me to understand an explanation is that if we cannot deal with Iran now, who the sanctions have brought their economy down to brought them to the table because of the sanctions, and who do not possess a nuclear weapon, how is it in 10 years somehow we're going to be able to deal with a country who sponsors terror, has a nuclear bomb, and is now wealthy? To say delaying the fact that they're going to be in a position like that is somehow good for America is beyond my understanding of it. And then look at some of the details of the deal. For example, the president said, well, during these 10 years before they're allowed to have a nuclear weapon, we can inspect anytime, anywhere. Well, that's not exactly true. That's not exactly how the deal reads. Actually, if we suspect that they're violating this agreement, which they will, there's a consensus even from the administration that they can't be trusted, and we call them out and say we want to come in and inspect, Iran will have up to 28 days before they allow anyone in. Now, I'm the father of 4 daughters. If I heard a male's voice in my daughter's bedroom and I went up and knocked on the door and said, I want to come in, and my daughter said, sure, Dad, come back in 2 weeks, I'd be a little suspicious. Why would Iran need time before they let us in? And then to add insult to injury, no American can come in to do the inspection. No Americans are allowed to be part of the inspection team. In fact, no Canadians are allowed to be part of the inspection team. They get over $100 billion up front. They still hold American hostages, by the way, which somehow we weren't able to negotiate that in this deal. How is this a good deal for America that 10 years from now, we're going to allow Iran to be in this position? This is a country, remember, that said we're going to blow Israel off the face of the earth.
Well, here's the question. Why? I mean, the point is that if you know this, I mean, we're not privy to all the information, the public. Senator Casey voted for it, and he thinks it's a good deal. Okay.
I think this is another case of what happened with the Affordable Care Act, where you had one party pushing through a president's a president wants to be his legacy. President Obama wanted changing our healthcare system here in America to be part of his legacy. And although many may not have liked it, allowed him to do that. And here we have another case where the president, this will be part of his legacy, where we seem to be wanting to please our enemies and turning our back on our allies, and more concerned with people that don't like America. And somehow we're helping the president with leaving this legacy. I think it's a sad day, honestly, Sam, because 10 years from now is a blink of an eye. What does Saudi Arabia do? What do the other countries around Iran do? They're going to be forced to get into a nuclear arms race.
Was there a debate on this? I'm sure there was a debate on this. Okay.
Yeah, and I talked to many of my colleagues, Democrats as well as Republicans, about it, and there were so many of them, even the Democrats, who hated the deal. But there's a lot of pressure from leadership because this is something that the president wants to be his legacy. But I didn't go there for a party, and neither did any other member should go to Washington for a party. If you think something's bad, it's a bad deal, you need to stand up. And I just don't understand the logic of, well, this is the best deal we can get. And that's all I hear is the explanation why they're supporting it. This is the best deal we're going to get. Well, this is a pretty bad deal, so you don't make a deal yet. You sit at the table and you continue to negotiate until you get a deal that's best for America. I don't know how anyone could explain that this is best for America, delaying 10 years, in the meantime allowing this country to continue with its sanctions.
You have constituents out there, and Murtaugh sends these news releases almost every day of what you're doing, where you're going, what you're voting on. So, and I want to address that a little later on the show. But was there a poll or was there opinion in the country of what the people felt about this Iran deal?
Well, I don't know if there was any poll, a national poll, but I could tell you the calls that I get at my office, the people that I see, what I hear, and what I know. Because the deal wasn't allowed to be made public. We were allowed to see it, but the deal wasn't allowed to be made public. And then, in spite of all that, to find out when Congress leaves for the August recess, to find out that there was a side deal that we didn't know about, that the administration made in this negotiation, never told Congress, that Iran can actually inspect themselves, but that wasn't shared with us, not only makes you suspicious of that Iran is not going to hold up to what they're committed to, but the administration hasn't even been totally honest with Congress, yet alone the American people who haven't been able to see any of it. This is a real bad deal. I'm voting no, and I'm not afraid to speak out about it.
Well, Casey, voted yes. What did Congressman Cartwright? What's his opinion on this?
I don't know, Sam. I haven't.
But we're hearing, when
we're going to vote. We're going to have a vote we're going to have a vote on this yet. Although the president has the votes in line, we haven't voted yet. Okay. So we're going to be voting on it shortly.
Here's the thing. When you're on the show, and I'm out there and going different places, I see you had Barletta on the show. What the hell is he doing, Sammy? They had Republican Congress. I'm disappointed in him because he's not doing this, he's not doing that. And I say to myself, well, maybe I could understand that person I see, whatever, at a restaurant or someplace. But if that person does not get all of these news releases that are sent out by you, I get these constantly as our news department. So, we try to get as much information out as we possibly can with our local news. I can't speak for the newspaper, but the point is that I said, well, you have no idea of what the congressman is doing. That must frustrate you.
It's very frustrating. Every day we send out my schedule of where I am, what I'm doing, and then a press release of the things that I'm working on or fighting for or what I'm actually doing. They go out all the time. They go out to all the media. We can't control what a newspaper or any media outlet prints or doesn't print, or what they report or they don't report. And it's happened to me many times. People say, I'm disappointed. What are you doing there? Well, because you didn't read it in the newspaper, doesn't mean that I'm not doing it, and it's very frustrating. So, we try to send out newsletters. I try to do as much personally as I can. This is an outlet for me to be able to talk about some of the things that I'm doing and working on. I send out newsletters for anyone that wants one, can call my office and they'll get a newsletter sent to them through an email or direct mail that talks about what I'm working on and what I'm doing. But again, just because somebody doesn't read it in a newspaper doesn't mean that you're not out there working hard. Mm-hmm. I just can't control what gets reported.
Trump, Donald Trump. He seems to be stirring the waters up, and I think the American public, they're frustrated. There's anger out there, just like with this Iran deal. Maybe Casey will pay the price for that. There'll be a backlash, but he seems to be Teflon, Bob Casey, because no matter what he says or does, he gets the headlines, and he's the main man. But I'd love to have him come on the show because I really don't know where he's at sometimes. Okay, but he's our U.S. senator. Okay, and I think he owes that to the constituents in Pennsylvania. But why, Trump has everyone stunned. I see that the people who are the mainstream, they're a nervous wreck because if they put this guy in, I think he'll do the right thing. What are your thoughts about that?
Well, I like the fact that what Donald Trump's doing in that he is changing the way politicians are talking to the American, at least opening up about issues. The country's become so politically correct that politicians are afraid to talk about issues in a way that the American people want to hear an open and honest dialogue. Immigration. Listen, I've been on the opposite end of a media backlash around the country because of the stance I took on illegal immigration. And if you remember, I didn't care what the media said about me. I knew what I was doing, I thought was right for people here in Hazleton. But what I found is many times politicians in Washington won't tackle those issues because they're afraid they're going to be called a racist, a bigot, what the media can say, and they put politicians in a box. Donald Trump has taken the box off of politicians. He's saying the things that Americans want to hear, how you're going to fix these problems. And if nothing else comes of it, I think he is it's been a wake-up call for anyone that wants to be president of the United States. American people want you to be honest. And he's saying the things that, and I hear this over and over again. I'll say, what do you think of Donald Trump? And he's saying what American people are thinking. And he doesn't care whether you like it. He doesn't need anybody's check, so he's not, the lobbyists, they don't control him. And he's, whether it be immigration, whether it's about China taking our jobs, whether it's about Mexico, whatever it is, he's just out there saying.
It fascinates me when I'm watching the commentators, even Fox now, okay, where you'll get these persons on and they know that Trump is in the lead, and they'll say, now of course he'll never make the president, but blah blah. Of course he'll never be president, but blah blah blah. Okay, so they always drop that in there in hoping and praying that what the mainstream
He might be president.
Well, that's what I'm saying.
He might be president. He was a businessman, Sam, number one, and I'll tell you, I wouldn't want to be negotiating across the table with him. And I think that's what the American people right now admire, is whether you like him or dislike him, he's tough and he's going to fight for our country.
Talking to Congressman Lou Barletta. When we come back, we're going to talk a little bit about the Pope's visit, okay, and where the Pope stands on certain things. Will it be a conflict, folks? I know a lot of people are waiting to hear what he has to say. Stay with us. Welcome back to the Sam Lesante Show. Remember, 24/7 SSPTV.com. You can watch all of our program, and we're in high definition, folks. My email, sam@ssptv.com. My guest today, Congressman Lou Barletta, comes on the show regularly to fill us in what's going on. Congressman, we have the Pope coming. And it's interesting. And he'll be speaking in front of the Congress, right?
Yes, he will.
What are your thoughts about that?
I think it's great. I mean, to have the Pope address Congress and come to the United States. He's going to be in Philadelphia, and he's going to come to Washington. It'll be one of the highlights for me to be present and have that opportunity to listen to the Pope.
So he is going to be talking. I mean, from what I saw the press release, he'll be talking about immigration. Okay, now maybe. His opinion and your opinion may differ on immigration, okay? He's saying we should be welcoming these people and taking care of people. And once again, I think people misinterpret the fact that when we say we're against illegal immigration, the word illegal is there. I don't think anybody does not want to help anybody, I mean, I think this is, it's like the needy versus the greedy, okay? Sure. So does Lou Barletta hate these people? We've discussed this many.
Quite the opposite. I want to be a voice for immigrants who come to America for a better life, for a better education, to earn more money, to be able to take care of their family. I think we hurt them when we allow an uncontrolled illegal population to come in there and compete for their jobs, make it harder for their children to get an education in school, or make people work for less money. I don't know how that helps immigrants. In my view, believe that we're hurting them.
Here's the thing, on Fox commentator mentioned that if you take 11 million people out, okay, who's going to pick the fruit? Who's going to, the jobs that some Americans don't want to have, who's going to take care of those things?
Sam, that's interesting that you say that, because I've been traveling around the district talking to businesses and listening to what their problems are. And, many times they say, listen, we have work, we just can't find people to do the work anymore. We have 22 million Americans who are out of work.
But do they want to work?
Well, that's the question. Has government made it so easy? And I'm sure that's not the case for all of the 22 million.
Yeah.
I'm sure some, who have had a job, and whether it be because they're a little older or whatever the reason is, they're not finding people hiring them. And that leads me to, we need to retrain people who have lost their jobs to the jobs that are available. We need to do a better job marrying people who are unemployed to work. But I also believe there's a population there of people. We've made it so easy for people not to work that they can get an unemployment check and work under the table and make more money than if they go back to work. There's a problem here. But to say that we just have to let illegal immigrants come here to take jobs and depress the wages of the American worker, or challenge people who do have a job, and because somebody's willing to come in here and work for less, that's a race to the bottom. That's not helping immigrants and other people who are at the lower end of an economic ladder get to the top. We're taking people who are and trying to bring them down to a lower wage scale.
Speaking of what you said, we have people out there that, if they're called and say there's a job opening, how much does it pay? $10, $11. I don't want to take it because I'm making more sitting home doing nothing. Okay, so now what happens is when they see people abusing the access cards and ripping us, the question is, what the hell is Barletta doing about this? And what's Congress doing about this?
What I'm doing right now, I'm not afraid to come out and openly have a discussion that there's no question of 22 million. There is a segment who are working the system. And that's what angers people. It's people who are getting nothing from the government, who you're out there working, trying to pay your bills, trying to get ahead. You become angered when you see someone who can work, who's not working, who's getting access cards. We're giving them a free cell phone, a free Obama phone. Now we give them affordable care. You're doing all these things for people, making it easier for people not to work, and it's beginning to anger people. If we cut out those that are cheating, those that are working the system, and just cutting that out, and still have a safety net for those who can't find work and who need help, But
you have, it's a two-way. You have the people, you have the liberal press who is saying no, they should get this, but then you have the liberal press that says, well, when they're abusing the system, they're doing a wrong. But you're saying, no, they should have this, but they shouldn't be having it. Corbett was in there, and he started cleaning up the fraud in the state of Pennsylvania, okay? What happened to him? Because he was not a popular guy, he lost, and the unions wanted to destroy the guy, and they did, okay? But they kept the Republicans in the House, which just doesn't make sense to me. So the thing is, why we have that backlash, we have the people sitting here reading things or listening to things on television. They accuse me of being, a pro-Barletta guy. I am a pro-Barletta guy because you're doing the job, okay? Now, if you're not doing the job, every time, because I get all this stuff every day, what Murdoch puts out. So I know what Barletta is doing, all right? Now, unless something's wrong, you're accountable, and you've always been accountable. I just can't understand why the liberal press will not be fair. We mentioned about the Pope. He talks about climate control, he gets headlines. What do you hear about abortion? And he says to be compassionate. I understand that. But what do you hear about these things? You don't hear that stuff, do you, Lou?
No, you don't. I mean, again, people like to pick and choose the part that they like and disregard and throw out or not talk about the others. And there's no control over that.
Lou, how can anyone in their right mind, particularly a senator or a congressman, who have seen these videos of Planned Parenthood, who have seen a needle going through a face of a little baby to get their brains out and to take these bits and pieces of... How is it possible that a lady or a man can get up in front of the cameras and say, this is acceptable?
It's I don't know, Sam. I wouldn't be able to. I wouldn't be able to sleep at night knowing, especially when science proves that this is a beating heart, this is a person.
Yeah.
What about their rights? What about their right? What have they done wrong? What has that little baby done wrong to deserve such a brutal murder with nobody, with no say? And this is where I stand on it, and I'm going to continue to fight. I have a 100% voting record, and I'm going to continue because that's what I believe.
I think Congress right now that feels the way the majority feel the way you feel. Talking to Congressman Barletta, I want to talk about the coal industry. Okay, we're here again. You were up at coal contractors. You've seen what they're doing. They're expanding. It's carbon. It's needed. They're creating jobs. You've been a supporter of what they're doing. But yet, it seems that our president wants to do away with the coal people, right?
He said it. He said he was going to kill the coal industry. That was part of what he said. We live in the coal region. The jobs, there's 36,000 jobs here in Pennsylvania that are tied directly to coal and the coal industry. This need for anthracite coal that we're blessed with here, whether it be for carbon and around the world, and the energy that we have here. The president is committed to killing this industry every way he can, and we've got to continue to fight and make sure the public knows what's happening.
Well, we have plants right now who are being converted from coal into gas. Is that correct?
That's correct.
And so here you have people who are producing coal and are reclaiming, as you saw, they're reclaiming the land, which is fabulous. They're saving.
That's the only way we're going to do it.
Yeah.
I mean, all the strippings that we see here,
Yep.
let me tell you, there's no developer coming in with plans to fix them up. Other than the only way we can do it, if we want to get rid of our abandoned mine lands, is to mine, because the laws now make them go back and reclaim the land.
And that's why I think people who live in the cities like Philadelphia, Allentown, or not Pittsburgh, but they're not familiar with coal. They think of strip-ins and coal and pollution. But when they see what coal contractors, one of many of the coal companies, Reading Anthracite, but Blackjack, it's a.
Sam, if I could just say, the Supreme Court slapped the president's administration down in the summertime, saying that they are not, with their rules that they're imposing through the EPA, are not taking into account the impact that those rules are having on an industry. The president went after that and doubled down, and now imposed a new rule requiring 32% less emissions from power plants, or they won't be able to be in business. Sam, the national parks couldn't even reach those standards. Even our national parks, they are literally trying to kill the industry.
Did you guys make him czar yet? Talking to Congressman Lou Barletta, will be back right after this. Welcome back to the Sam Lesante Show, folks. My guest, Congressman Lou Barletta. Lou, I'm looking at here, when you say, what is Barletta doing? I see all these press releases that come up, and everywhere you're going every day, what you're saying, and what you're saying to me that everyone gets these press releases. Okay, if somebody maybe they're not printing out all your releases, or we're not reporting everything, how can someone know what you're doing on a daily basis?
They can go to my website. They can also Lou Barletta at government.com or LouBarletta.com. Either one, they can find. A lot of these press releases.
What Jim Murthaugh puts out, we can read all of these things that are going on.
Facebook, Twitter, my Facebook page. Everywhere I go, it's on my Facebook page during the course of the day. Yesterday we were in Sunbury. I'm trying to stop flood damage. The day before I was down in Harrisburg. Today I'm going to be up in Factoryville, up in Wyoming County. So we're traveling around the district. I brought people in from FEMA, PEMA. We're working on a lot of things, Sam, but whether it makes the newspaper or not.
How about Boehner? How's he doing?
Well, he's got his hands full. I think the American people are angry, and rightfully so. And I'm sure he's hearing it. But they're not happy with what's going on, and they want us to be able to do something.
You have input, right?
Oh, absolutely. I've been able to walk in Speaker Boehner's office and tell him the things I don't like. I'm doing it right now. I don't like what we're doing with the highway bill. America's infrastructure is falling apart. We need to rebuild our infrastructure. They're good jobs, Sam. People make a lot of money when there's construction work, and they spend it in our restaurants and in our stores.
Yes.
So I differ with what Washington's doing, and I'm very vocal as Speaker. I'm not going along with what they're doing, but I'm speaking my mind, and if I have to give him credit, he lets you do it.
He listens.
Yeah.
Okay. Some key things, we got about a minute left. Key things that you're going to be working on.
Well,
this
you know,
session?
again, I'm chairman of a committee on transportation, so I'm just trying to save the taxpayers money, moving federal agencies out of buildings that are too big for them in space. So far, I've saved $2.5 billion. Just moving agencies into smaller spaces. Again, the highway bill, I'm one of the leading voices on immigration, legal immigration in Washington. That's very important right now with everything that's going on. So, and we're working on tax reform. So there's a lot of things, and trying to stop this Iran deal, which seems to be moving forward.
So that's why you're getting grayer. I remember you went out, your hair was all black, okay? It's starting to take a little toll on you, isn't it?
You know, that's what age will do.
My guest, Congressman Lou Barletta. I highly recommend you go to loubarletta.com, folks, and you'll see exactly what he's doing. But he certainly has been no stranger in giving us updates of what's happening. Lou, I wish you the best.
Thanks.
You know, we pray for you
Thank
guys. It's Democrats and Republicans. They're all in there trying to do the job. Just that hopefully they'll pray a little bit more. You know. We'll see you next time.